Before I get into this, I want to apologize for the microphone quality. I misplaced my microphone that I use, and I'm in the process of getting a new one. But anyway, I wanted to talk about what I've been playing recently since I switched off of the bow shot build. I switched over to Molten, Molten Blast, which has been working out for me. It's extremely tanky. I've been hit up about it, so I'm going to make this video explaining it real quick. So, I am using Molten Blast, which means that I have a mace and I have a shield. So, why did I switch to Molten Blast? Well, because it's tankier and I want a level 100 character. It's about all there is to it. So, it's the same concept as the bow shot if you went and watched the bow shot explanation. I'm still stacking different elemental damages, fold, fucking English. Fire, cold, and lightning damage. That way, if I run into a lightning resist, I have fire and cold to deal with it. If I run into a cold resist, I have fire and lightning to deal with it. If I run into a fire, into whatever resistance, I have two other damage types to be able to take care of it. I am using the Hands of Wisdom of Action just to get more lightning damage. It's just more DPS, plus the attack speed's pretty nice. I'm still using the Sapphire Ring, which enemies you chill, they shatter. Whenever an enemy shatters, Herald of Ice procs, causing an explosion. It's great for clear, but it's also great defensively, because when an enemy is shattered, it doesn't leave behind a corpse, and if there's no corpse, then enemies can't be resummoned, enemies can't explode corpses, enemies can't turn it into chaos degen. It's just a great way to go about getting rid of corpses so you don't have to deal with the on-death effects. The reason I have my Herald of Ash at 15 instead of at 19 or 20 is because if the enemies die from an ignite before it's able to shatter, then it will leave behind a corpse, and if there's a corpse, it could be exploded, it could be resummoned, just so many other things. Herald of Ash is pretty much a support to proc Immolate on my Herald of Thunder. That way my Herald of Thunder, which can't shock but can still chill, will still be able to shatter enemies. So I'm not scaling the ignites off of the Herald of Ash. I'm using Herald of Ash strictly as support, and I also have my precision and clarity because shatter is just that important to clear out corpses, so you'll be able to survive longer. I do have this armor with the increased global defenses and increased maximum life. Therefore, I get more defense and I get more life per soul core I socketed, and I have 40% reduced critical damage because on the shield that I'm using, I have another 40%. So together that's 80% reduced critical damage taken. And then over here on the passive tree, I picked up Battle Hardened, which is another 20% reduced critical damage bonus. So I'm not afraid of being crit because crit damage does absolutely nothing to me. What else do I have? Oh, I'm still using Veil of the Night Martyr Crown, which allows me to get gear and not have to worry about resistances. I just don't have any elemental resistances. Now, I'm not taking an elemental hit as if it's at 0%, because taking an elemental hit at 0% compared to 75% are two totally separate things. This just strictly says that I have no elemental resistances. Now, if we come in here into the character, it will say, 0%, 0%, 0%. That's because there's no real animation or anything that GGG has put into the game yet that will just take away these resistances and just keep chaos, you know? So it's set at 0 due to an animation thing. So pretty much I don't have any elemental resistances. But I have figured out that I take an elemental damage hit the same as I would take a physical hit. So as long as I'm stacking my armor and getting life, the amount of elemental damage I'm able to take will continue to increase anyways. 9, 10. I am actually sitting at 42% armor, 83% evasion, 57% block chance. That is with all 10 of my tailwind stacks up. And there are times that I do get hit and tailwind will go away, but it just builds up so fastly it doesn't really matter anyways. What else is there? Oh, I also got a belt that has a +1 charm slot on it. That way I could be immune to poison and I could be immune to bleeding. And then I spec'd down here to Hunter's Talisman to get my last charm slot, and that way I am now immune to poison, bleeding, and ignite, because ignite was just totally wrecking me anyway. So very good defensively. These continue to gain charges on their own. I do get guard if I get poisoned, or if I get hit with a bleed, or if I get ignited. I haven't seen how guard works yet. I haven't really noticed it, but it might be doing something, it might not, I'm not sure. What else? Spirit on the amulet, and then life. This one came with strength and intelligence, but I mostly did it for the spirit. That way I could run all 3 of my heralds and still be able to keep my maximum evasion through Wind Dancer, which gives me more evasion. So yeah, because of the helmet, I don't have to worry about any type of elemental resistances. Just continue to stack life, which I got life modifiers through quality on my ring. I got life modifiers through quality on my amulet. Getting life on the boots, pretty much move speed. Life on the belt, life on the shield. So even though I have the 40% reduced critical damage in the soul cores on the armor, everything else is just increased maximum life, increased maximum life, increased maximum life on everything. What else is there? Yeah, so now because I'm able to run all 3 of my heralds, I spec down into Coming Calamity, which gives me 50% increased damage to my cold, fire, and lightning damage. So as long as I'm running all 3 of my heralds, I'm getting a 50% increase to all 3 damages, which means that if your Herald of Ash is still doing too much damage and it's igniting them and killing them, you could pretty much just run a level 5 or the lowest possible level of Herald of Ash and still get the guaranteed ignite whenever you kill an enemy to be able to proc Immolate on your Herald of Thunder. And yeah, so if your Herald of Ash is doing too much damage and it's stopping you from shattering, then you could run the lowest level if you want, because regardless, as long as you at least have it active, you will always get the 50% increased fire damage, which is cool. What else am I doing? Pretty much not worrying about stun threshold, but I am worrying about stun recovery. So I have 30% stun recovery through this node, and then down here I have 80% stun recovery, which together is over the 100, so I don't really worry about being stunned as often because I recover quickly. Ailment Threshold not being frozen is a huge one for me, so I spec down here I grab the natural immunity, which each point of dexterity will add to my Ailment Threshold, and then I simply increase the Ailment Threshold. Since I'm immune to Ignite pretty much, I went Shock for Feel the Earth, and then again not being frozen. So 60% increased freeze threshold is important, that way you don't get frozen, and then if by chance you do, you get a reduced duration of the freeze. And then this element, hold on, this element node over here also reduces the duration of the element. So 25 reduced shock duration, and I'm pretty sure this said 25 reduced freeze duration is actually 35 reduced, since you get 10% right here, and it's extra stun threshold, which is cool. On the shield, I am going block. This is the bare minimum block chance that I would go for, is 43%. I'm pretty sure maximum is like 47, but I wouldn't go below 43. 43% is the bare minimum block chance that I would get. And with the block chance, I am also getting increased damage per percent of block. So while I'm sitting at 57% increased block chance, it's pretty much a 57% increased damage. So between the Coming Calamity and turning my defenses into damage through block, right there is already 100%. So I spec down here, I got the increased block chance, and then over here I'm not only increasing my block chance, but I'm increasing the defenses from my shield, which that's 40, and that's 30, that's 70, and this is a 95% increased defenses from my shield, which is pretty much double the defenses, which means that my armor on it, instead of it being 244, it's actually 488, and instead of the evasion being 222, it's actually like 444. If it was 100%, it's a little bit less, but that's pretty much what that's doing, is just increasing the armor and the evasion on the shield, which is something else that makes you fairly tanky. Any other cool mechanics I'm using? Oh yes, right here, Jack of all trades, I'm getting 2% increased damage per 5% of the lowest attribute. My lowest attribute right now is intelligence at 221, which is, I don't know, like a 45% increased damage, about 50%, so we'll just say 50%. And these are all increases to just generic damage. So it's just increased damage from block, increased damage from the attributes, and then increased damage to fire, cold, and lightning through Coming Calamity. So altogether that is 150, but then I also have my Anoint, which is Crushing Verdict, and Crushing Verdict is the only damage source that applies to attack damage itself. So Coming Verdict gives me 30% increased stun buildup, 50% increased attack damage at a down cost of 5% reduced attack speed. So altogether I have pretty much 200% increased damage, which to a multiplier is only about 150% increased, or 150% more damage. So if I were to try to increase it even more from right now, it'd just diminish way too hard. So I decided to go with the penetration route, which is why I have Flash Storm for shock chance and its lightning penetration. And then up here, I'm also going a little bit more penetration for the Stormwell and the Unbound Forces. And then also I'm spec'd into Heartstopper, 50% less damage over time. Standing on degens, chaos degen, whatever. But yeah, so penetration is the last way I'm scaling it. Now the way that I look at it is that if I'm not at 50% through Jack of all trades for my increased damage. I am still getting increased elemental damage through these nodes over here that lead down into Feel the Earth and Warm the Heart. So altogether that's 20, 30, so it's like another 40 right there. So my damage is diminishing pretty hard. Is that it? Yeah, pretty much everything else is attribute stacking. Getting my attack speed through dexterity, right? Through the Falcon technique, grabbing all of the dexterity nodes. I'm getting 100% increased evasion on the body armor, which just applies to the body armor. Right here is giving me increased dexterity, which applies to my Ailment Threshold. It applies to my attack speed. It applies to my accuracy. It's how good dexterity is. And then 30% increased evasion. What else? I am going to end up speccing over here into Sturdy Metal. I'm going to grab Relentless, and then I'm going to grab Sturdy Metal to get 80% increased armor from the body armor. But other than that, yeah, this is it. I got all of my damage out of the way. My next nodes are actually going to be up here into Sturdy Metal. And then for my ascendancies, I have Point Blank, because you know it's free Point Blank on the Deadeye, which is why I went Deadeye. Not only do I get Tailwind and skill speed and movement speed, I get 3% less damage taken per Tailwind, so you know less damage taken is less damage taken. And then I also get free Point Blank, since the way that Molten Blast works is you will step into the enemy, and if you're fighting a boss, eventually you're going to be in their face tanking them anyway, which is when you get the maximum benefit of Point Blank. I haven't done my last ascendancy yet. I'm having a hard time with it. Now, depending, I may go for the extra projectile, since when both projectiles hit, it would be more damage, which is probably what I'm going to do, is just get the projectile speed and the extra projectile for the more damage. Now into the skills. That's right. So how do I fight bosses? I'm using Frost Bomb to get cold exposure. I have lightning exposure connected to Frost Bomb, so since I do have a chance to shock from Flash Storm, I also have a chance to increase the magnitude of my shocks through Unbound Forces. Whenever they're shocked and they get hit by Frost Bomb, it will apply not only cold exposure, but it will apply lightning exposure. And then I have Strip Away to increase the effect of the exposure that I'm applying. So I have cold exposure, lightning exposure, and I get fire exposure off of Molten Blast, since 30% chance to inflict fire exposure. So that's all three types of the exposure that I'm getting from Frost Bomb. And then I have an Artillery Ballista through a crossbow that I have on my offhand. Does the crossbow matter? No, it doesn't matter at all. Use a normal fucking crossbow if you want, but this was just something that I had. It has no level requirements, does no fucking damage, just whatever. So I picked up this crossbow, and while I'm attacking and I'm inside of the boss's face, I drop my Frost Bomb. Hopefully they are shocked, that way I get the lightning exposure. But then I also just drop my turret or my ballista, and my ballista is going to generate rage for me. And it goes up to 30 rage. So 30 rage is 30% more damage. So now I have access to all the exposure plus 30% more damage from rage just on a single target. And since I'm going to be in their face, the ballista shouldn't really be attacked. I haven't done extreme boss testing on this yet, so I'll have to figure all of that stuff out as I continue. But I do have the artillery ballista connected to Font of Rage and Persistence. That way the ballista will stay up longer to generate all 30 rage for me as I'm fighting. My Molten Blast setup is pretty much just martial tempo, primal armaments, execute, and then I have the fire penetration since I'm getting cold penetration through Stormwell off the passive tree, and I'm getting lightning penetration through Flash Storm. So why not just go fire penetration right here? Now I have all three types of penetration. So fire penetration, and then I have inspiration. That way I don't run out of mana while I'm fighting the bosses. My Herald of Ice setup is just Herald of Ice, magnified effect for a bigger AoE clear. Coursing Current. That way if Herald of Ice does shock, the shocks will spread to other people. Herald of Thunder can't shock, but Herald of Ice can. If I come over here to the advanced info, my chance to shock on Herald of Ice is what? Oh, it has 51% cold pen. Oh, that's Herald of Thunder. No, I want Herald of Ice. Advanced info. Estimated Mayhand hit, yeah, cannot cause freeze, cool. Lightning damage, estimated ignite, so Herald of Ice can ignite. What's the chance to shock on it though? Lightning penetration, cold penetration, blah blah blah, whatever. Chance to shock enemies is 50%. So there's a 50% chance that oh wait, no. That's the chance that it will spread. I don't know. I can't see my chance to shock on here. Lightning, ignite damage, explosion radius, blah blah blah. Yeah, I can't see where it says that at. But if it does shock, the shock spreads, dealing more damage to everything around it. Cold mastery, and then conduction is 100% more chance to shock. Now Herald of Thunder is just lightning mastery, immolate, and cold penetration. And the Herald of Ash is what procs immolate for the Herald of Thunder. And then I have precision and clarity attached to the Herald of Ash. Yep, that's pretty much it. I'll leave a POB at the bottom of this video. This was just an update of what I'm doing right now until I hit level 100. Yeah, so if you really wanted the explanation about why everything is the way that it is, then yeah, you have one now. So if this is something you were looking towards playing, then have fun and go around and wreck stuff. The build that I'm still working on isn't complete because I still don't know how it's going to interact with some of the highest bosses in the game. Right now I'm just really focused on leveling this character to 100, so it's to the point that I'm not even making my Waystones rare, or not rare, yeah, rare anymore. I'm just running them as magic, being sure that I get a Waystone drop chance on it, and as long as there's a Waystone drop chance, then I will run it like that. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Hopefully when I order my other microphone and I get a new one, I'll be able to create a better video with better audio. So I hope you all enjoyed.